Oh wow. Good Hey, am I unplugged in? Yes. Good evening. Yeah, I never because I normally don't do the introduction. So yeah, good evening everyone. Welcome to FPL Happy Hour Last Orders, and it's live. Not as said, uh, as well as my normal podcast partner Sham, but you may have noticed that I'm tonight joined by our good friend James. How are you, James?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good. How's your week been? It's Friday night.
It's been a busy week with work, mate, but football's back at Villa Park tomorrow, so can't really complain.
Well, we'll see about that in 24 hours time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We might speak on that on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those that haven't caught the podcast out from this week, um, you might be surprised that Sham isn't joining me, but he's off doing something in the woods with some people. So I'm joined by James tonight, and then he'll also be joining me on Monday to record the start of the week podcast, and then I think you're joining me for a couple more live streams over the next couple of weeks as well, whilst Sham
Yeah,
goes and watches West Ham lose. So.
yeah. You lumbered with me for a couple more weeks. Sorry.
Well, hopefully you're going to give us some insight on the goings on at Villa, because last week it was a disappointing weekend for you as a Villa fan.
Yeah, I think we were caught a little bit cold by a Watford team that were buoyed on. I think all the Watford fans were happy to be back in the stadium, and as I said, I think they caught us a bit cold in that first half. It was more of a pre-season game.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think tomorrow at Villa Park against, let's be honest, not the best Newcastle team, I can't see anything but us coming away with a positive result. And if we don't, I think might be in for a longer season than a lot of fans realise we might have been in for. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people sort of, well, 10 days ago, everyone was raving about Villa's business over the summer. I think it was brilliant. Some of the signings he made, yeah, the outgoing of Jack Grealish was there, but um, yeah, the money was spent well to sort of make amends for losing him. It's just a case of trying to get those players to gel together, really. So hopefully, if they do all gel together, then it should be a really exciting team to watch this season.
Yeah, definitely. I think what a lot of Villa fans have kind of realised after the Watford game is everyone thinks we've done, we've probably had a very good window in comparison to other teams, but really we've kind of, I would say, moved sideways. Obviously, we've replaced one man with three, but the squad's maybe a little bit better. But is the first team quality a little bit better? I think it's hard to judge at the moment. But as you said, I think of the three, I'm most excited to see how Leon Bailey gets on. I think he looked really sharp when he came on against Watford. Obviously, got an assist, and he's probably the quickest player I've seen in a Villa shirt for a very long time. He is
Mm.
absolutely electric. So, be interested to see how he gets on. And we know a little bit more about Danny Ings. If we can keep him fit, he should get us, I'm hoping, near enough 20 goals a season. So, him and Watkins as two strikers for a team that's only been in the Premier League a couple of years back now ain't a bad two to have, really.
Hmm. Yeah, it's yeah, definitely exciting. You didn't mention Ashley Young.
Ashley Young. It's been what 10, 11 years
Uh,
since
we
we've
s-
seen
we signed him
Ashley.
2010 or
Might even be,
2011.
yeah, might even be longer. Yeah, he. To be fair, he's changed a lot as you would obviously expect from a 36-year-old. But yeah, he might be needed to cover left back a little bit more than we thought this year because I think Matt Target's still having nightmares about Sarr from the weekend. Um, yeah,
It was pretty
Matt Target.
horrific for him.
Matt Target got turned inside out. I don't think he knew where he was at points. And then I heard he played in the behind closed doors friendly the next day against Liverpool because supposedly he might have not been full fitness.
Hmm.
So we'll maybe give him a pass on that week. But he's been targeted before by those kind of quicker wingers. I think back to the Wolves away game last season behind closed doors, and Adama Traore gave him nightmares all game as well. So yeah, he's probably not the quickest fullback, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on last week.
Cool. Right, let's just quickly see who's in the chat. Sham isn't in the woods. He's in the chat. Evening, Sham. Evening, Damiano. All the way from Melbourne. Morning to you. Evening, FPL Glasto. We've got Rubber Ducky in there as well, and Fadgley as well. Evening, guys. Thanks for joining us. Towards the end of the show, we'll do a quick Q&A as well. But let's crack on with what we've got tonight. So we're just going to do a quick roundup of your team from last week because we don't know how you got on in FPL. We'll do a quick roundup of the press conference news and sort of the major talking points from that. And then we'll have a look at the free hit teams, which it's no longer Sham versus Rob, it's Sham and James versus Rob. So we'll see what James's free hit team for the week is, as well as mine. Then we'll have a look at our almost locked in teams, and then finally we'll go through the game week fixtures, do some score predictions and the Q&A. So I haven't actually got a screenshot of your team. I forgot to take it. So
you don't want it. Don't worry.
Do you want to just tell us how many points you scored, major surprises, major mistakes, and what your rank was?
Let's start with rank then. It's an embarrassingly high number. We are 2.6 million in the world. The heady heights of 2.6 million.
You're in the top 50%, mate. It's all good.
Yep. That's I'm top half. I'm
the top half.
I'm the Wolves of fantasy football. Consistently top half.
The Arsenal of fantasy football. In the top half, but not really challenging.
Exactly. I finished on a grand total of 76 points for the week, which was 7 more than the average. So I'm going to take it. Where did I go wrong? Let's start at the back. Martinez in goal for Aston Villa. He conceded 3. So that was good. Luke Shaw conceded 1 and got himself a yellow card because he only got 1 point, I want to say.
Yeah, he got yellow.
I had Trent. I think that... what's his ownership? What's Trent's ownership? 33%. Everyone had Trent. That was an obvious pick. I then went with Lewis Dunk at the back of Brighton. That was to try and cover me off against the Robert Sanchez owners at Brighton. And if it hadn't been for James Tarkowski physically assaulting Neil Maupay for Burnley's goal, would have had a clean sheet. So, yeah, not a great start at the back. I had captain Mo in the midfield, so 34 points, pretty much saved my game week. I also had Heung-min Son, who got 10 points against Man City. I always like Son against Man City. He's got an incredible record.
You could probably say Son actually saved your game week more than Salah did.
Yeah, maybe.
Everyone, I think, like that 34 points. I think everyone got. Well, most people got those 34 points.
But on the Saturday when Bruno scored his however many points, and I didn't have him, I have to admit it was a bit of squeaky bum time when Mo then played at 5:30. I needed a return there. The rest of the midfield was Harvey Barnes for Leicester. I thought he looked good in the Community Shield game against Man City. Probably had a quieter game than I expected against Wolves, but I think he's one to hold long term. I had Emile Smith-Rowe at Arsenal against Brentford on the opening night. Once again, I think Smith-Rowe is a bit of a holder because I think Arsenal got tough 2 games and then they've got a fixture swing again.
Yeah.
And then into the front line, I had Danny Ings, who got a 97th minute penalty, so can't complain. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, another 7 points with a goal. I was undecided between him and Richarlison as of Friday and probably made the wrong decision there. And then Ivan Toney, who got me 2 points. Stuart Dallas, as my first sub on my bench, got me 5 if I'd played him. So I kind of set my team up in a way that I wanted to still cover myself this season, at least at the start, till we see a little bit more with COVID. So, for example, I had John Stones as my second substitute as a 5.5 defender, and he was always one to bring in this week. And I wanted with him and Dallas to have probably 2 playing subs out of the 3, so we kind of knew a little bit more about COVID. I think we've seen players like Veltman, and then obviously Aubameyang and Lacazette had to drop out the Arsenal game. Just having that bit of coverage from COVID still, at least in the early part of the season, I thought was the better way to go. So maybe not the best score to start with, but I'm hoping I've set myself up a little bit more long term, really.
I mean, I think, yeah, no one was expecting such a high scoring game week. Like, Game Week 1, like, it's never
Normally
like
is
that. And
pretty average.
yeah, and the amount of people like hitting over 100 points in Game Week 1 was crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I mean, yeah, it's a long way to go. So even like just being above average is good. And then it's about how you move, like not panicking and just how you move forward with the 100%. Season. Right, so let's go on to some cheeky talking points from the press conferences today. So Pep has declared that Gundogan is fit, despite the worries of the whole of FPL Twitter throughout the course of the week. People panicking whether to buy or sell. But it sounds like because De Bruyne is a doubt, Gundogan will probably more than likely start in the midfield for City. Yeah, those that panicked and sold early, I think, are going to get a bit punished there.
I was just looking. He's fifth most sold midfielder this week, and the one that surprised me even more is just above him in 4th is Jack Grealish, also of Man City, when they play Norwich this week.
Yeah.
Yep, I don't get that, but
yeah, you'd imagine
do what you want
to do. I think Sterling and Grealish looked the most threatening last Sunday.
Definitely.
Gundogan sort of sits in and plays that sort of KDB role quite well. So you'd think those 3 are sort of pretty nailed on to start. I think it's Mahrez that is in danger of not starting, sort of out of the sort of forwards. I think players like Bernardo and Varane could get a look in instead.
Yeah, I was surprised people transferring out Gundogan, because I think we saw last season he can go on one of these kind of runs, can't he, where he just turns up for 3-4 game weeks and he gets double-digit hauls fantasy-wise every week and 2 or 3 bonus points, and owners are laughing that they've got him for such a cheap price compared to the rest of those Man City midfielders as an asset. So I know people were a little bit worried about him not playing this week, but against a newly promoted team, if you haven't got one person on your bench, you could have risked that if Gundogan doesn't play, they come on. I'm surprised so many people have sold him.
Yeah, I just and if you're going to sell him, you'd probably move to Grealish.
Yeah,
I think it's like the simple. It's 0.5 in it. So yeah, it's a strange one. So what's next? As you said earlier, Watkins more or less ruled out this week. So it's only a positive for Ings owners, really. Sort of guaranteeing that you'd think they'd still play that 4-3-3 with Ings in the middle up top.
Yeah, I've heard it might be a 4-2-3-1 tomorrow. From what I've read online today, that young Jacob Ramsey might come into the midfield to sit next to the Nakamba, and McGinn might push further on to sit behind Danny Ings. But then obviously, I would presume it will be Buendia and Ashley Young start on the wings again. I don't know if he'll risk Leon Bailey from the start, but the talk is that Jacob Ramsey might play in midfield next to Nakamba tomorrow to allow John McGinn to push on a little bit, which is a role I like in John McGinn from watching Villa. I think everyone saw how he took his goal last week, and he's got a screamer in him.
Yeah, we saw that
every week.
The season he got promoted, because he was quite a good asset for FPL. So I think he was like 5.5, and he was picking up a return every 2 or 3 games. You'd get something from him. He was
definitely
a nice asset to have.
I think we're just trialing that system going forward because Morgan Sanson isn't far away from fitness. And I think when Sanson comes back in, that would be a role he's looked to be deployed in as kind of to sit in a midfield three maybe, but then be the one that pushes higher on because we haven't really seen a lot of him in a Villa shirt because of injuries, but I think he's another player that can do that role pretty comfortably.
Cool. Right, next up, Arsenal and Aubameyang's are out, but I don't know anyone that owns him, so let's on to the next. On to the next.
Move on. He's got
next
COVID,
one.
hasn't he? I think they've finally said he's got COVID.
Yeah. So
I just don't understand. They should have just said that from the start, shouldn't they? Last week, I don't understand it.
Chelsea, Pulisic is out, but again, I don't think he's hugely owned. Ziyech, who there is a few owners for now, and Kante could return. Obviously, Kante as an FPL asset is nothing.
No.
Leicester, Bertrand is out, but Castagna and Maddison have both been declared fit. Castagna could be an interesting one there for Leicester.
Yep.
Then United, Cavani is ready. He posted on Insta earlier with him on the running machine. I think that's his standard, his go-to post to say I'm fit and ready. Is
nice.
I was going to be running on the running machine now.
Do you think he'll come in?
No, I think for United, I think the only change I could see is Lindelof for Varane.
Do you not think Sancho starts over Dan James?
Oh, actually, yeah, and Sancho for Dan James. I think those two are the changes. Greenwood still through the middle. Yeah, I think that going forward, the weak link for the whole game was Dan James.
He's got no end product.
No,
he's just got no end.
He's a great. I think with Dan James, he's a great squad player. We'd never sell him, but he's not a starter for United. But he's your. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a player from the past. He's your Anderson. Just someone that puts he'll put in a shift.
Nice reference.
Yeah,
nice
for 20 minutes. I was going to say Ji-Sung Park, but no, Ji-Sung Park was more than that.
Legend.
So Sancho. I think Varane will start. It'll be good to see him on the pitch.
It's a scary back four now, isn't it?
I think if you own Cavani, I'd be again very wary. A lot of people had Cavani last week, when it was very unlikely that he'd start. If I were, I'd probably be waiting I'd probably be waiting till after the internationals now because I think it's game week 5 and 6. He's been selected for Uruguay, so he's back off again.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, Cavani's third most sold striker this week, behind Iheanacho and Lord Harry Kane.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And speaking of Mr. Kane, he's been training. I'm not sure whether we'll see him tomorrow in a Spurs shirt, or Sunday, I think it is, in a Spurs shirt. But it could be the perfect opportunity, an away game, and sort of a limited amount of reaction from the fans. Although, when I was there on Sunday, a lot of Spurs fans were very indifferent about how they'd react to him, the coming or going. They kind of if he stays and scores in the first game after it's confirmed he's staying, they're going to sing his name again. So they just want the whole sort of saga to be done and dusted with, so that they can just get on with the season. Because it's a bit of an unwelcome distraction to what's going on the pitch. And after such a great performance on Sunday, and to come away still talking about Harry Kane at the end of it, is pretty sad for the club. And then, but then they lost yesterday, and everyone's just laughing about that instead.
Yeah, they might need him to get them through against Pacos de Ferreira.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be his parting gift to them. I'll get you into the Europa Conference League group stages before I leave.
Yeah.
We'll
get you through for Albania away on a Thursday night. Just what you want, really, isn't it?
Right, so there's a little press conference roundup, and let's go on to. We've touched briefly on who we think is sort of the best picks, maybe from a couple of teams. So let's have a look at the Sham and James versus Rob free hit. Last week, Sham won, so it's 1-0 to Sham in the head-to-head. And this week, let's have a look at who James has selected as his team.
That's it. So the pressure's on me then to keep up the winning streak.
Just talk us through it. Just also remember, for the benefit of those on audio, who obviously can't see the lovely screenshot.
I will name as we go. So starting in goal, I think, I've gone with Ederson and Man City. Seems a pretty obvious pick against the newly promoted Norwich. I did a bit of digging last night. In the 24 games as a Man City goalkeeper, he's faced the newly promoted side. He keeps a clean sheet in 2 out of the 3 of them. He's got 16 clean sheets in 24 against newly promoted side. So I like the odds against Norwich on tomorrow afternoon.
Yep.
Early tomorrow.
Do you know what happened last time they played Norwich at home?
Didn't they lose 3-2, I want to say? Was it 3-2?
I think, yeah. I just remember it was Pookie Party season.
Yes. Yep, it was. It was, yeah, at Norwich. Yeah, now you say that, I remember. Yeah, it was Pookie Party season. But, yeah, I think bless Norwich. They didn't really stand much of a chance against Liverpool last week. And Tottenham beating Man City, I don't think will have pleased Pep very much. So I think Man City might be out for blood tomorrow. So I expect a clean sheet there. And that leads on to my first defender. I went with Ruben Diaz. I think, once again, it's kind of working on the percentiles that it's probably the favourite for a clean sheet this weekend. And I hope, for a Man City perspective, that he's got John Stones next to him, not Nathan Ake, because Nathan Ake doesn't look like the player that he was, even in a Bournemouth shirt 2-3 years ago. And Benjamin Mendy needs to stick to doing stupid Instagram videos compared to being a footballer. Benjamin Mendy's possibly the worst left back in the league, and I don't mean that as a joke.
The Graham Souness of FPL Happy Hour. But instead of going at Paul Pogba, you're going to go at Benjamin Mendy.
Oh, I think Benjamin Mendy is terrible. He was great at Monaco, and Pep seems to get the best out of every player except for him.
Yeah, he was brilliant FPL asset a couple of years ago, and then the injuries started happening, and yeah. Anyway, enough of Benjamin Mendy, because otherwise you'll go on about him all night.
No, let's move on from him. My next defender was Shimikas, I want to say, from Liverpool. I think having a buy-in now at, I think he's gone up in price, isn't he? He's now 4.1 into that Liverpool defence, a defence that's now got, let's say, a 90% Van Dijk back, but a 90% Van Dijk's better than 90% of the Premier League defenders. And I think we were all quite surprised by how attacking he actually was against Burnley. He seemed to be getting forward, for me, more than Trent. I think he had more crosses into the box than Trent. And I think if that Liverpool midfield improves, I don't know what the update is on players like Fabinho and Thiago, but with definitely Fabinho back in that midfield, I think that their defence is likely to be protected a little bit better. So I think he could be a sure bet for another clean sheet. And then the last defender I went with was Ethan Pinnock of Brentford. I thought I'd be a little bit out there with this pick. I think, once again, we were all really impressed with him against Arsenal on the Friday night. I don't know how much you read into it, of Arsenal being Arsenal and Brentford playing at home in that new stadium for the first time in front of fans. But obviously the assist with the long throw, I think, was his assist. Yeah. And the fact that Brentford seemed to be playing a 3 at the back much like Chelsea did last week against Crystal Palace. I'm not going to compare the Chelsea back three to the Brentford back three because I'm not that silly. But I think the Chelsea back three really nullified any kind of impact Zaha, who you would pick out as Crystal Palace's talisman, had. And the fact that he had to drift quite centrally because of the three centre backs to pick up the ball, I think kind of reduces some of the risk you see from Zaha. And I think Brentford will go into that game high on confidence. Crystal Palace took a bit of a battering. It could have been 4-5-0 against Chelsea. So I think Pinnock could be a good option again for another clean sheet. Moving into the midfield, I've got my third Man City pick. And yes, I am still slightly biased, and it is Jack Grealish. No matter what any other Villa player still says, he's the best Villa player I've seen.
Did you want to put a Villa shirt back on him on the screenshot? Should we do that
No,
for
I'm
you
not
next
bitter.
time?
I'm not bitter he's gone. I'm not bitter he's gone. But no matter what any deluded Aston Villa fan says, he is the best player that's played in a Villa shirt for a long, long time. And I think he'll be a real top player for Man City. And I think we discussed earlier that looks like De Bruyne isn't going to be fit. I saw, glimpses of the Grealish I've seen at Aston Villa for Man City against Tottenham last week, especially that early driving run where everyone thought it might have won a penalty, but it was just outside the box. And I think till we get a bit of a better idea on Pep Roulette and costing £100 million, he ain't getting dropped for now. And against Norwich, I think that's the kind of game he could really go off on. Next up for me was Heung-min Son. I had him before last week. He was always in my plans, and he proved last week why Tottenham might rely on him quite heavily if Harry Kane goes. I think he's another excellent asset and a good fixture this week against a Wolves team that are still gelling under Bruno Lage. Mo Salah is my third midfielder and will be the captain of this team. Burnley at home in front of the full Anfield. I think, except for maybe Bruno, he's the obvious captain choice for most teams this week, and he's already got a golden assist to his name, and back in a full Anfield. I think they might go with that flying four, and I think Firmino might even come in, and Jota might play, and Mane and Salah being back at home. So I think there could be goals there for Liverpool. And then my final pick in the midfield was Ismaila Sarr of Watford. They play Brighton this weekend. As I alluded to before the podcast, Matt Target's still having nightmares about Ismaila Sarr. I think he was probably Watford's standout player. I know Dennis probably caught the headlines with his goal and his assist, but Ismaila Sarr was so direct.
Everything went for him, didn't it?
So direct against Aston Villa. And then when I look at the fact that Pascal Gross was playing left wing back for Brighton on the weekend, and the fact that Veltman's still out, is Pascal Gross really going to want to get turned and get run in behind by Ismaila Sarr? I can't see it personally, and I think that's a good fixture for Watford again. And I have to say I was really impressed with them against Villa. I thought they were really good. I think the home crowd helped them a lot, but yeah, really impressed by Ismaila Sarr. And then my three forwards. First one I went with was Neil Maupay. He plays Watford. I think that could be a high-scoring game both ways. I think we saw that the Watford defence kind of switched off in that second half, or got caught a little bit cold by Villa once we actually started to attack. So I think they are going to be leaking goals this season. And obviously he's already up and running with a goal this season, and I think I heard this week that he's now on penalty duties over Pascal Gross. I think that's been changed over during the summer, so I think he's one that could be one to keep an eye on, and I think they've got a good run of fixtures, Brighton, for a long time, especially at home, so one that I'm keeping an eye out for my main team as well. My second striker is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Was excellent against Southampton. I think he didn't train till the Friday before because of a toe injury. Rafa was pretty unapologetic in the way he played. They just crossed against Southampton. and I think that's something that's going to suit Calvert-Lewin. You know, he's good in the air. I think when you saw his goal, he's basically taken a diving header from within the 6-yard box. He's not afraid to go and attack a ball or, you know, be brave in that challenge. And that Southampton defence they played last week looked a little bit shaky, and he got his goal. And I think the Leeds defence this week, with the way the wing backs get on for Leeds, and I presume there's still going to be no Calvin Phillips for Leeds, I think Leeds are prone to leak some goals until at least they get someone back in that midfield to cover the defence. And then my last pick, I had to go with him. He's the signing of the summer for me. He will be the Golden Boot winner in the Premier League this season for me.
Jadon Sancho.
Is not Jadon Sancho. It's the main man, Romelu Lukaku. And as you know, Rob, I'm a massive fan of the Serie A, and I can't wait to see this guy back in the Premier League. The player that left Manchester United 3-4 years ago now, maybe
3 years ago.
It was 3 years ago.
Solskjaer's first summer.
Right, the player that left Manchester United is definitely not the player that's coming back. I was obviously doing my bit of research because you knew I was always going to talk about him. I had a quick dig in 70 games for Inter in both Serie A and European competitions. That's 70 games. It was 60 goals and 17 assists. So more than a goal contribution a game in Serie A or European competitions.
Just the Farmers League though, mate.
Oh, don't start. Don't you start. Definitely not the Farmers League. I also picked him in this team because I didn't know if you knew, but his debut record is possibly the best one I've ever seen in the Premier League for the respective clubs.
I think he's scored for in every Premier League debut that he's had,
except for one. So it is when he first signed for Chelsea, he came on and got an assist and man of the match. When he went out on loan to West Brom, he scored on his debut. Everton, he got a goal in his debut, and then his home debut, he got 2. And then he got 2 on his Manchester United full debut as well. And he hasn't got a bad record against Arsenal as well. I think it's 8 goal contributions in 17 games against them. So he's getting a goal contribution every other game against Arsenal. And if I'm honest, I think he's going to flat track bully Ben White into the middle of next week. We'll still be trying to find Ben White on Monday's podcast. Yeah, the Lukaku that's coming back is an absolute machine for me, an absolute monster. And I think the way Chelsea play is going to really suit him because it's very similar to the way that Inter team plays. Inter adopted a 3-5-2. I know Chelsea's is a bit more of a 3-4-3. And the Lukaku partnership with Lautaro Martinez at Inter is one that I think will work quite similarly with Timo Werner. Obviously, I don't expect Werner to get the goals that Martinez gets because Werner couldn't hit a barn door. But the fact that the way Chelsea play like that, and I think also with Havertz, we saw at the back end of last season in Inter's title-winning season that actually they kind of moved away and from a 3-5-2 and became more of a 3-4-1-2 with Eriksen playing behind those 2 strikers. And I think that's a role Havertz could definitely play for Chelsea, or a Mount, or we talked that Ziyech may be back this week. Someone like that dropping off a striker or a striking pair, I think. Yeah, Lukaku's kind of really adapted his game that he can do a bit of both. Him and Lautaro worked beautifully together, that one would always drop and draw a defender, and it would normally be Lautaro that did that, and then Lukaku would go in behind. And we've seen that he's got pace, and we know he's got strength, and he's only got to get a sniff or a look at the goal. And as I said, that goal scoring record of, 77 goal contributions in 70 games is undeniable. So, as I said, I tip him to win the Golden Boot this year if he stays fit. And I think he'll go down as, it's hard to say a bargain at 98 million, but if he takes Chelsea to a Premier League title, does he go down as a bargain? I think he might do.
Could be. Cool. Just after that, we've had FPL Wilson in the chat, who I believe is a Palace fan. Probably doesn't like your Pinnock pick. He said, "What is this stupid team?" Only joking. It looks good, mate. Right. So I'll quickly run through mine because I didn't spend that long on it, to be fair. But we have very similar players. So I've got Edison in goal. I've gone with 2 Liverpool at the back. I've gone with TAA and Simicas. I've got Diaz as well. I think those 3 pretty well, and Edison, I think pretty nailed on for the clean sheet. Gone with Luke Shaw. I think there's attacking returns in it this week again. I think I'm going to say that a lot of times this season about Luke Shaw, that there's attacking returns there to be had. I think it was just the case last season. He was threatening last season, but I think after seeing it through the summer on such a high level, I think everyone's a lot more conscious of it rather than trying to write him off a lot. I've gone with Grealish, like yourself, and I've gone with Sarr, like yourself, for exactly the same reasons as you said. I've gone Salah captain, which I'm maybe slightly regretting now. I could have easily gone to Bruno instead as a captain this week. And then I've got Mason Greenwood as well, who I think, when we touched on Cavani earlier, I don't think Cavani will start. He'd probably come on at some point in the second half. I think Greenwood would very much be playing in that number 9 position on Sunday afternoon. And I've gone one up top with Callum Wilson, who I fancy getting a goal against Villa.
Disgrace.
Yeah, I mean, me and Sham have argued about Callum Wilson and Alex St. Maximin a lot over the last week or so, but I'm going to stick with Wilson and hope that he returns. Otherwise, Sham will give me a load of mouth during the week. So that's the 3 hit teams. Maybe drop a comment or write down in the chat who you think will win out of the 2 of them. I think altogether you're actually using a brand new team for your 3 hit, whilst mine one was a minus 48. I didn't actually take a 3 hit. And then I've realised you would have had more money to spend than me, because every transfer I make, I'm losing 0.1 on every single transfer. So you've got more money than me.
Excuses have started already.
Yeah, so I'm not sure this is going to work, to be fair. By the end of the season, it'll be like, right, budget teams all round.
I'm not making 38 accounts for the rest of the season just to do this.
Well, hopefully Simicas's price will rise up enough to cover all of these transfer taxes. Cool. Right. Now on to our almost locked in game week teams. So that was the 3 hit for everyone that might be just joining us. They're not actually our teams for this week. They're just teams that were made for Gameweek 2. You've already gone through how your team did last week. Are you making any transfers ahead of Gameweek 2, or are you just rolling the dice and
just rolling the dice for me? Obviously, John Stones is going to come in for Emil Smith-Rowe for anybody that's listening. Except for that, I set this team up with the sole intention of, unless we saw an injury or kind of any shock news, that this team would take me through the first 2 game weeks. I just wanted to collect a little bit more data. I think trying to make transfers on 1 game week is a little bit punty. I know 2 game weeks might not be much better. Yeah, but I always had the intention to roll the transfer, as I said, and I think 2 next week gives me some leeway where I can start to look towards dropping down, because as I said, I've probably got there 13 starters really, maybe dropping that down to 12, saving myself a little bit of money on a starter and ploughing that money back into another premium maybe. So yeah, sticking
It's
with my team for now.
even dropping like someone like Dallas down to Simicast, but depending on, probably that depends on the any Robertson news,
Some
because
news, yeah,
like I'm starting to hear mid-September as when he could be back, which is as soon as that could be like game week 6.
6, yeah,
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and especially
yeah,
those that have got him as where they've got like only got 3 playing defenders, and one of them is him. That's
yeah,
those people are going to be the ones that are struggling because they now got to
yeah,
try and move a bit of money around to get him back, but
yeah.
probably not have to worry about it too soon.
Yeah, the one I saw at that price that interested me was Livramento at Southampton. He started on the weekend instead of Carl Walker-Peters, which I don't think a lot of Southampton fans expected. But I think if he stays in the team as what would probably become a second sub for me, for say someone like Lewis Dunk, that would save me 1.5 million. So that would leave me only 500,000 away from Son to Bruno, or I could move Ivan Toney up to another one of those kind of Callum Wilson, Mikel Antonio kind of strikers. So that's kind of where I'm at thinking wise at the moment.
Cool. Right, my team, like yourself, I'm just rolling this week. Like there's a few iffy ones. Like I think, like I mentioned on the pod the other day, that I haven't sort of got in my head like red flags against players, but I've just got kind of an asterisk next to them to go, right, let's keep an eye on that, because moving forward, that could be a player that I might not need to have.
Yep.
So I've got, Sanchez in goal, TAA, Shaw, Simicast as my back 3. Buendia, who's one of my asterisk players at the moment, but I'm still trusting that. I'm not panicking about it at all. I've got Masala as my vice captain, Harvey Barnes, Bruno Fernandes as my captain. I think I've thought about it a fair bit over the last couple of days, and I've just got everything stats-wise, numbers-wise, points to captaining Bruno over captaining Salah this week. Burnley a lot better defensively. Salah also has players like Jota, Mane, that get an equal number of chances that he does.
Yep.
Whilst with Bruno, even though like we see a lot of the ball went through Pogba the other day, the amount of times Pogba's first thought is get it to Bruno, because Bruno's making those runs. And for those, so I'm an advanced tier patron for Planet FPL, and James did a fantastic tactical analysis on Bruno Fernandes from the Leeds game, and I hadn't even known, because I'm watching it as a fan. You're too engrossed emotionally
you lose
to
yourself.
Yeah. And watching back on it, and James going through it, the amount of times Bruno gets on his bike to move forward, like he'll just spring into life and break forward to try and lose whoever's marking him in the midfield, to then break through those defenders. And the number of times then Greenwood comes out to make that space for him, and 2 of the goals were caused by Greenwood just dropping out and Bruno coming in. And
definitely.
Yeah, it will. I against the Southampton side that I'm still not sure about at all this season. I think the ceiling's there for Bruno to hit. And as I say that, Paolo Hora has said Bruno will flop hard this season when Sancho starts. I think Sancho will start on Sunday, and I think we could get another double-digit haul from Bruno. Simple as that.
I tend to agree with you. I think the only thing, well, 1, I haven't got Bruno, so I can't go with him. And 2, I think for people kind of with this dilemma between Salah and Fernandes. The things that point me towards Salah, one, I like the fact that he's back in a full Anfield. I think that can't be underestimated. We saw the home games last week. There was a real swing for those home teams. And I think that's going to continue for a good couple of weeks, I think. I think we could see be the other side of maybe the second international break before we start to see a more of a normal game week, home and away results wise. And the second thing I picked up with, obviously after what you said, there is Bruno against Leeds was against Robin Koch in the midfield, who's normally a centre back. I think he looked a little bit lost at times. I think that Southampton midfield, I would presume Aurel Romeu's going to sit in that in front and probably be tasked with as best he can kicking Bruno out the game. And I think that's just another added dimension for people to think about, that Bruno was outstanding against Leeds, but I think he wouldn't have had the same impact, say, if Leeds had had a Calvin Phillips in that role, an actual natural midfielder that kind of reads and understands the game a little bit better than a centre-back having to step up into that defensive role. So I think, as you said, it's a real 50-50, but I would still, if I had both, air with Bruno.
Well, I'm not. Right, and then my front three, obviously the same as last week, although I think I started Soufal over Tony last week, but I'm bringing Tony in up against Palace. I think the way that Brentford played against Arsenal, if they press that high, I'm not sure Arsenal couldn't deal with it. I don't think Palace will be able to deal with it at all.
I think Palace struggled a little bit with the fact that Conor Gallagher was missing for them last week against Chelsea, because of obviously being a Chelsea player. And I think he, in that West Brom team last year, kind of really set the tempo from defence moving forward. He was the one to always pick it up and look to make the forward runs to find a Pereira or a Diangane or someone else that was playing for West Brom. And I think they missed that Crystal Palace. Admittedly, they were against a very good Chelsea team, but just having someone that can transition it through the lines a little bit quicker than a Czech Koyate or someone like that, I think that's where Gallagher's going to be key for them this year. But as you said, Brentford pressed well. I was impressed with, actually, I think everyone coming into the start of the season said Ivan Toney is just going to be a hitman in that 6-yard box, and he might be a little bit limited in his other parts of his game, where if anything against Arsenal, he showed every other part of his game.
Apart from the finishing.
The link up with Mbeumo, the coming shorts and winning those aerial duels against Ben White, and just his hold-up play and being able to bring other players into the game, I thought was exceptional. And if he carries on like that, the goals are going to come for him because he's a striker and he's a talisman. But I think he could get a good number of assists and bonus points when we look at it from a fantasy perspective with that kind of all-round game as a striker.
I think it reminds me a little bit like how sort of a combination of how Leeds played at times at the beginning of last season, very gung-ho, and Sheffield United 2 or 3 years ago when they first came up. It was very much like that, very gung-ho. So there'll be games where they dominate and teams really struggle to deal with it, but then there'll be games like against City, Liverpool, Chelsea, like the sort of top 4 or 5 sides where they're going to get dicked. Essentially, they'll go gung ho, but there'll be teams that the defensive players will be able to deal with that press quite comfortably and quickly move the ball into the other half of the pitch, and they'll be punished. They'll be they'll be exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them this season. That's what I was just about to say. I think Villa have got them obviously next week. And I think, as you said, that could be one away. They're playing at Villa Park again. Be interesting to see how they try and stamp their authority on a game away from home, not at the Brentford Stadium. And I think if they come and high press Villa, it could actually play into our hands a little bit with a fully fit Leon Bailey and Buendia going down the wings against that 3-back, with then Danny Ings maybe 1-on-1 against a centre-back if our wingers can drag them out.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they play away from home.
And like with the sort of the good distribution as well from the back, like players like Emi Martinez is great distributing the ball. Tyrone Mings is very comfortable on the ball in general. We joke about him. Well, I think both up until the Euros, joked about Tyrone Mings and how he seemed the least comfortable on the ball in the England defence, but in that Aston Villa side, he is very comfortable. Anyway,
he's not even Aston Villa's best centre back, but that's a discussion for another day.
That's Axel, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is now. I forgot about Axel. Yeah.
Anyway, my last two players, I've got Antonio and Danny Ings. Soufal, I've got Veltman sitting there on the bench, and Gilmore. Yeah, nothing to panic about. But like I said, yeah, I've got little asterisks next to Buendia at the moment, and Harvey Barnes at the moment. I just want to see a bit more from both of them.
Yeah. Buendia's got another week. I think you got to give him against Brentford next week as well, surely.
Yeah. It's a case of not panicking and knowing that there's this international break coming up where I might want a couple of transfers to move around, because I don't plan on using my wildcard early. I plan to use it around game week 11 or 12 for the Man City, Liverpool and Man United fixture swing, so that I can just pile into those three. Right. What are we on to next? The game week fixtures and the Q&A. So make sure, guys, if we can get, if you've got any questions, get them into the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. But in the meantime, we'll just do some score predictions. I think we've probably covered every single game in some way through this, so we might not go into too much depth. We'll just get some quick score predictions, and if there's any particular player that, if you were looking at this fixture and wanting to target it, who would you go for, or would you just not touch it? So Liverpool, Burnley. What do you think for that one? You can go first for this one.
I'm thinking it's going to be I'm going to go 3-0 Liverpool again. And even though we've all got Salah in our team, I think Mane's record against Burnley is better. So Mane is the one to watch for me in this game.
I'd go with a 3-2 or 3-0. I don't think it'll be a thrashing. I think it'll be comfortable for Liverpool, but I don't think it'll be a thrashing, which is why I'm just not feeling the Salah captaincy and think I'm comfortable to go with Bruno this week. I'll go first with this one. Villa Newcastle. I'm going to go 4-0 Newcastle.
Careful.
I think 2-1 Villa.
Okay.
I'd like to see more defensively from Villa. Obviously, they're very disappointing the other day. ASM will probably give that same threat that Sarr did. Which then concerns me. Like, I fear for Matt Targett's life a little bit.
He's going to need some help. That's why I think Ashley Young might have to play.
Yeah, I think that Villa have enough attacking wise and they showed it in the last knock-ins of the game last weekend. They've got enough there to attack teams. I think it's just a case of that side just gelling together. So I'm going to go 2-1 to Villa in that one. What do you think with Villa Newcastle?
I'm similar with you. I'll say 2-1 as well. If Leon Bailey starts, it's 3-1 Aston Villa. There you go. That's what I'm going to say. And then
all very agreeable. This is.
Yeah. So far, we'll start disagreeing from now. I'll say Southampton will beat Man United. It's fine. I'll go there.
Fuck off, mate. Right. Next up, Palace versus Brentford at Selhurst Park.
I'm undecided. I'm gonna go 1-1. Even though I said I'd have Ethan, even though I've got Ethan Pinnock in my wild card draft this week. I think Ivan Toney will open his account in the Premier League, but I could maybe see Palace grabbing one as well. So 1-1 for me.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Brentford.
Oh,
Gonna
brave.
go out there with that.
Brentford top of the league.
Yeah. Well, no, because we're gonna win 9-0 against Southampton. Right. Leeds versus Everton. But whilst we're on the subject of Leeds, Paolo has got in the chat. Would you go Soufal over Ayling this week? So Soufal against Leicester or Ayling versus Everton. Who would you prefer?
That's a hard one. That is. I would go with. Oh, that is a tough one. I would go with Q. Yeah, I'd go with Soufal on the Monday night. I think he was unlucky not to get a return against. Who did they play? Newcastle. If was it him that won the penalty for Antonio, or should have? Where Antonio hit the crossbar with his cross?
Yeah,
he should have had an assist for Antonio at some point. I remember. Yeah, I think Kufaz. But saying that, Luke Ayling did smash a screamer in at Old Trafford.
He's got one attacking return in like 39 Premier League games.
Games. Yeah. That Leeds at home as well. That is a tough one. I'm going to sit on the fence on that and not actually give you an answer. There you go.
There you go, Paolo. I'd go Soufal over Ayling. I don't think either are going to keep a clean sheet, so I've got to go with who I feel provides the most attacking threat, and I think that's Vladimir Soufal. Yeah.
Ayling not going to get 2 and 2.
One goal. Which was a worldie. He might have got a bit lucky. No.
It was.
That one goal, it doesn't change my opinion of him as providing an attacking threat, and it shouldn't change anyone else's.
No.
At the end of the day, who was it? Christensen in the Euros scored that screamer for Denmark. Yep. Doesn't make him a great attacking asset, does it? You still got that same.
You never know.
Got to have the same opinion of him as before. Look at his XG from that goal. It's like probably 0.01 or something ridiculous. Right. Next game, Man City versus Norwich. I think this could be a cricket score.
I'm going to agree with you.
Delia Smith.
Yeah, I do a little bit.
Might stay at home.
Yeah, stay in the kitchen, Delia. Am I allowed to say that, or is that?
Maybe stay in the hospitality suite, Delia.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Hide, Delia.
Watch something else. There's 3 other games on at the same time, so she doesn't have to watch Norwich get smashed by City. She could watch Villa get smashed by Newcastle instead.
Yeah, exactly. When City are winning 3-0 in 20 minutes, maybe just turn off at that point. Yeah.
And I mean, I think we both agree that we actually like Grealish over anyone else in that game to provide some returns.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Then the evening kickoff for Saturday evening, Brighton versus Watford. Cracking game that's going to be for Saturday night football.
Yeah. Of all the games for Saturday night football,
I think Saturday 5:30 kickoffs are back with the worst game of the day.
Well, it probably is. Well,
I think on paper it could be quite exciting. I
think Watford will be good again. I think Watford are going to be unapologetic this year and will just attack. And if they go down swinging, they go down swinging. Because I think if Villa had another 20 minutes against them, it would have been 3-3, if not 4-3, back to Villa, the way they defended. But yeah, I could see this being, maybe a 2-2, maybe a Desmond, maybe a 3-2, one way or the other.
I was just thinking to myself, 2-2 or 3-2, something like that. I'm going to go 3-2 Brighton. There you go. You say 2-2, I'll say 3-2. I'll go with that. Yeah, there's a 95th minute winner for not for Neil Morpay because he's in the free hit team.
Lewis Dunk. Lewis Dunk is in my normal team.
He's
Lewis
in
Dunk, back stick header.
Lewis Dunk. There we go. You've called it. It's going to happen. Right, Southampton versus Man United.
Adam Armstrong to get a hat trick and Rafael Varane to look like Pepe when he retired in a Real Madrid shirt. No, I'm going to go with... I fear this could be a cricket score as well, but I don't want to say it because I don't have any Man United assets except for Luke Shaw. I'm going to go with 4-1 Manchester United.
I'm going to go with 3-0 Man United. I don't like predicting that, but we could easily be 2-0 up at half time. 2-0 down at half time.
You got a poor record at Southampton, haven't you? Seem to remember.
Until last year.
Obviously.
Until 45 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was at Old Trafford, the 9-0. Last year in this fixture, we were 2-0 down at half time, and then Cavani came on and was just unbelievable in the second half, and he got 2 goals and an assist, and we won 3-2. Simple as that.
I've got that wrong in my head. I thought you were pretty poor at Southampton. I'm thinking of all the way back when you had to change your shirts. When you had to change your shirts at half time.
Historically, we've always been awful. I think, we've lost like 6-3, 3-1. We've had some awful results at the Dell and at St Mary's.
You never catch that off an Aston Villa team.
Right. Next up, Wolves versus Spurs. I'm going to go 1-0 Spurs.
I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs. Harry Kane to come on and get the winner.
No, one thing that did really impress me last week was the way that Spurs defended. I think they were very brave and organised defence. It was a bit sketchy for the first sort of quarter of the game, but then they were very organised and brave and limited City to a minimal amount of chances, like pot shots basically, for much of the game. So, yeah, I'm gonna back Spurs for a clean sheet in that game, but like we don't know much about this Wolves side yet. I think there's a lot to learn about them. But yeah, I'm just gonna go 1-0 Spurs. Arsenal versus Chelsea, Super Sunday.
I really want to be horrible to Arsenal fans because they were particularly poor against Brentford. I'll go with it. I'm going 3-0 Chelsea.
I wouldn't argue against that. I could see
Lukaku to get 2 at least.
I could see
if not all 3.
The Emirates not being a very nice place on Sunday.
No.
And I could see Arteta maybe not having a job by the end of the weekend. If it's
they
not
got
a
Man
very
City
nice place.
after.
Yeah. If they lose, the crowd reaction is going to be because they haven't had that chance to voice themselves, have they?
Well, then there's a protest before about Kroenke as well, isn't there?
And
or is that tomorrow? They're protesting over the weekend, Arsenal, definitely.
The funny thing about like people, and it's a lot of Arsenal fans, they shout out and mouth off about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, PE teacher this, PE teacher that. It's like at least he like came second in the league last year. Like, how did Arteta do? At the end of the day, like we spent more money, and that, but you've still got a coach aside. You can't just turn up and then tell him. So, like, he must be doing something right. And
he always beats Leeds.
Wrong. Yeah. Well, we didn't. The second game last season didn't beat Leeds. That was awful.
You then battered them.
No.
You then battered them 6-1.
Yeah, we've battered them twice.
I can't remember the last time Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about Arsenal and Arteta and his job stability.
I think he'll be the first one to go.
I think the favourite before last week, before the first game, the favourite as the first to go was Vieira. It's now Arteta. I think the Vieira thing was...
Arsenal could be 0 from 9 this time in 2 weeks. When we get to the international break, they could be bottom of the table, 0 points from 9, and staring down a very long season. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
But then we said this about them, like it would have been a year ago. We would have been probably around game week 3 or 4 now.
Yeah, they were 16th. Somewhere down there.
And we were joking about relegation and all that, and we could be making those same jokes again. But we shall see. Right, and then finally Monday Night Football, West Ham v Leicester. What are we thinking?
I hope Sham has turned off because West Ham are going to get their pants pulled down. Where am I going here? I am going 2-0 Leicester. Jamie Vardy to score a goal and make fun of the West Ham fans like he likes to do in every away game wherever he plays. He's such a I'm not going to describe him on YouTube, but he is a horrible, horrible striker to come up against. I think the celebration against Wolves, pretending to be a wolf howling, just about sums up that man, and I love every minute of it.
Yeah, I'm going to say 1-1. I think both teams will score. I mean, for West Ham, the Olympic Stadium, it's not like...
It's got a running track around it. It's not a proper stadium, is it?
Yeah, it's not... Like, it's different to other football grounds where they can create that sort of... that like imperious atmosphere. So, yeah... I don't think they'd like dominate the game, which some other home sides will over the weekend. So yeah, I'm going to go 1-1. Right. Well, we haven't had many questions this evening. I think everyone's out enjoying their Friday night. We're just being two sad bastards talking about fantasy football for the evening.
Don't blame them.
So everyone's out enjoying their Friday night. Is going to be too hungover. We'll miss the deadline tomorrow morning. And you might hit the top million.
Let's calm down. Let's calm down. Bloody hell! We'll have a heart attack if that happens.
I'm hoping Sham has already locked in his team
before he gets lost in the forest.
Yeah, before he gets lost in the woods. Or the woods get lost in him. So yeah, I think that's about it. Right, any other business? Last thing is the mini league. If you haven't joined it, I can't even find where I've got the code. There it is. The join code is 1PQSLT. We'll keep it open to entrance up until game week 5 deadline, where first prize will be a 2021-22 shirt of your choice. We might even get the name on the back if it's a reasonable value shirt.
There we go.
Yeah, if it's not...
Hopefully it's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, if it's not...
Get an Arsenal fan.
If you pick a shirt that's too expensive, then we'll just get the Happy Hour logo put on the back of the shirt for you. So yeah, get yourself in there. I think the leader at the moment is on 124 points. Dara Cunningham. So he's up there. Shams,
I'll be in your DMs, Dara.
I think Sham's in the top 20. I think I'm in the top
he's a show off, isn't he?
40 odd. There's I think about 300 people now. It would be great to get, if we can get 500 in there, we're going to throw in some small manager of the month prizes, like on a couple of random months as well. So yeah, make sure you get yourselves in there.
I'm 194th out of 213. That's embarrassing. I should have bought that. I should have brought that up. That's
bad. But yeah, that's about it. Our next recording will be on Monday evening. So yeah, podcast will be released late Monday night. The YouTube video version will be 1 o'clock on Tuesday, where we'll be doing a roundup of Gameweek 3, roundup of Gameweek 2. We'll quickly run through our teams, maybe some initial thoughts on where we're going next. We've got to think of some topics. Keep an eye out on Sunday. There'll be a poll going out for the community topic, hot topic for the week, which we can discuss. And then I think we might just, depending on result, have a look a bit more in depth at Villa, because there is some value to be had there. So, and whilst we've got you there, we might grab some stats and have a deep dive into Villa and who could be the best asset, especially if we see, like you said, especially if we see John McGinn playing a more advanced role. I think, yeah, you'd have the likes of Bailey, Ings, Watkins, McGinn, Buendia, all to pick from. So it could make it very interesting.
Like it.
But other than that, make sure you like the stream or the video, whatever you're watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. You can see our Twitter details down at the bottom. I need to add you to the bottom of it as well, James.
Don't worry. There's nothing on my Twitter.
Make sure, yeah, you drop a like or a rating or whatever on the podcast. We're available on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and all that jazz is what Sham says. So we'll go with that.
Fantastic.
And that's it. Have a great game week, guys, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Cheers,
guys.
Thanks, guys.